Hey there, you guys. So, it is finally the end of April. So, April felt like the longest month of the year. Like, I, yeah. The fact that it is May is strange to think we finally made it. However, May isn't going to be much different. So, you know, we're all home in our shelter in place form, whatever that may be for you. Whether you have to continue to go out because you are an essential worker, or you're stuck at home with kids, or you're stuck at home doing nothing like me. It's all kind of a change in progress, and we're getting through it. However, you would think that, oh, you've been doing less. That means you've had more time to read. Some of that is true, but it also means I've had more time to watch YouTube. That has been most of my time. I have become obsessed with a D&D show called Critical Role. I am currently almost done with Campaign 1. Campaign 1 has 115 videos. So that's what I've been spending my quarantine doing. I think it's very productive. It is a good outlet for creativity, and I love it a lot. However, in the last week, I've realized I need to kind of scale back a little bit. So I've spaced out my watching. I watch like a video a day, maybe two. So that I now have more time for reading and other necessary things during the day. So anywho, into what I read this month. So I finished 2 whole books. I started 2 other books. So I did pretty well overall. One second, I gotta push that out of the way. No. Sassy is here, being annoying as always. So, anywho, so let's go into what I read. So I read, I'm gonna say 2.5. No, more than 2.5. 2 and almost 3 total, combining the 2 I started. So the first book that I finished this month was the Lost Hero graphic novel adaptation by Rick Riordan, adapted by Robert Venditti. This was interesting to reread because I so fairly recently finished The Lost Hero. The other ones, when I was rereading, I had read them middle of last year, so it was kind of almost like a year later for the most part for some of them. But for this one, it was like just a few months later. So it was a good, it was a good kind of refresher. And I'm also still reading the other series, so like I'm still reading this series, so like I had to like take my brain back to where I was at the beginning. But still very same points I made about the last books, that it's just not, they're good, but and there's more details in these, which I like because they're a little bit bigger than the other ones, and it could be that they're a different adapter. I can't remember who adapted the first set of series, but for the purposes of this, it was nice. There was a lot more detail to it, just still not as much as I would like personally, but I also am particular about details and things like that. So I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 if I'm remembering correctly, but it's been a few weeks since I rated that. The next thing I just showed it. The next thing that I finished this month was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I am doing a reread of this series in preparation for her new prequel book that I don't know if I talked about its description in the last video, but I was very wrong about what it's about. Snow is a main character. I apparently had never actually read the synopsis. I had read a story about what they thought the synopsis was about, which was not right. The synopsis for the prequel takes place in the 10th Hunger Games with Snow as a main character, and he has to mentor the female trainee for District 12, which is a whole nother ball game in what I think this story is going to be about, and I'm so freaking excited to read this new book. But so I'm doing a reread of the original trilogy to get my head back in the world. And I remember why I love these books so much. It was like I had not read this book in 4 or 5 years now, probably. I probably read it for the last reread at the beginning of high school, maybe even middle school before then. And it was so nice going back to something that I knew, and like I know the Percy Jackson books so well front and back, all like the entirety of the series, but it had been so long since I read this. I remember the movies a lot more now because I watched those more through high school, and now going back to this, it was just so nice going back to a story that like I love. And so I'm excited to reread Catching Fire this month. But yeah, so I gave Hunger Games obviously 5 out of 5 stars because why wouldn't you? The next book that I started this month, I got just over halfway through, was not on my TBR for last month. I picked this book up as something for the reading rush that they did, the weekend stay home reading rush. And I picked this up as a part of that, and I was just enthralled, so obviously I kept reading. I didn't finish it, but that is Royal Bastards by Andy Schwartz. It is a book about the main character is a bastard in her kingdom, and her and this group of other bastards witness a crime, and then they have to figure out how to go about it, because then they are framed for that crime. And I'm about halfway through this, and I like literally where I just left off is such a cliffhanger, and I'm so excited to jump back into it. I'm going to try and finish this in the next few days. Hopefully I can finish it this weekend, and then get to the rest of the books on my TBR. I did alter. I originally had a whole other plan for this month, but that is not the case. I changed some things because I had to have room for this and the next book in my TBR for this next month. Plus, there's a readathon this next month, so we're also going to be fighting that. But we'll see how May goes. We'll see how this whole thing flies. But yeah, so I'm about halfway through this, but I wanted to mention it in this video because I did read quite a bit of it, and it's just such a fun story. It is technically a Disney Hyperion release, but it is not necessarily a Disney story. So I don't know what Disney Hyperion's rules are in terms of, but it is very much a YA story and not a middle grade story. Just based on content so far, there are some light swear words and things like that. So it's definitely not a middle grade, which is awesome, because when I saw that it was Disney Hyperion originally, I thought it was going to be more of a, sorry, my computer keeps flashing in and out. I thought it was going to be more of a middle grade, which I was fine with, but then when I started reading it and got more into it, I realized it was a little bit more of a mature story than what I was anticipating, which was really nice to read. And then the last book that I started this month, but I didn't get very far into it, was The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. I got not even, like, I got 4 or 5 chapters in. The reasoning behind it is because I had started Royal Bastards during the readathon, and then was reading that, and then realized I was so close to the end of the month and I hadn't started this, so I started this last night, got a few chapters in. Obviously didn't get very far because I want to read it. And the reason why I'm reading this one and Blood of Olympus is because I don't like the person who reads the audiobook. They, for some reason, had a change between book 3 and book 4 in this series, and the book 4 and book 5 readers, it's the same person, and he pronounces things so much differently than the person who was reading for books 1 through 3, and it just threw me off, and I don't like it. He voices all the characters differently, which I don't blame him. It's his chance to kind of take those characters on, but it's just not the same, so I don't want to listen to him read it, so I want to actually read it, which will be nice to actually physically read, but that means, just goes to show you why I've been reading so much, is I didn't listen to a single audiobook this month, which is strange. It was great, but it was strange, and that's why I also didn't read very much, is because I wasn't able to go to bed listening to like an hour and a half of an audiobook. I physically reading, and then when I physically read, I fall asleep a lot faster. So anyway, but with all that being said, I am still at 81 books on my TBR pile, because I didn't read anything new this month. I started something new. High School Musical just came into my head. But I did not finish anything new, which sucks. This next month I have quite a few new books on my TBR for 2 reasons. I'll get to that later. But anyway, that is it for this video today, guys. I will talk more about the May plans in my May TBR, which will be going up hopefully in the next week or 2. Well, probably within the next week. I just haven't filmed it obviously yet. I'm filming this first. I'm probably gonna film that tomorrow. I just wanted to get this one filmed and up right at the end of the month. So I'll probably film that within the next few days and then get that up. Talking about all of the things that May has to bring, both my normal TBR and readathon TBR. So anyway, that is it for this video today, guys, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Goodbye!